Is it every actor's sort of fantasy to be sort of running around with guns and, playing cops and robbers?
Cops and robbers is a good old genre to be a part of. It's good fun. The guns and stuff, it's not the fantasy, but, exciting, scary things happen with people with guns, and therefore it makes good drama, do you know what I mean? But cops and robbers is a good old-fashioned, sort of archetypal story structure that I think is really rewarding to be a part of.
You're often sort of associated with villains, but this one's slightly different. Can you tell us why you were drawn to this character?
Because he's a more fully rounded individual than your average villain. If you look at, say, Blackwood in Sherlock Holmes, he was in league with Satan. What he was meant to do in the movie was provide the bad guy so that the good guy could defeat him. And that's usually the case with villains. They're essentially morality tales often, movies. The good guy's got to defeat the bad guy, which is why I usually die horribly in most of the films I'm in. But this guy has a good side to him. He's given up his life of crime. He returns to London because of the love of his son. He doesn't want to be a bad guy anymore, but he's just pulled into it.
Some influences here. I can see a bit of Michael Mann, a bit of Hong Kong stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was very much what Eran was taking his major notes from, certainly in the aesthetic and in the two men opposed kind of dynamic, and that was what was exciting to be a part of, that we weren't just trying to do British gritty realism, which I love and I will, I love seeing and I want to be in, but it was nice to do something slightly different as well.
But I guess I'd grown up on a diet of action cinema, like loving Die Hard and Predator and Lethal Weapon, and I'd studied those films, and you literally watch them and you pause them and you break them down, and you figure, how have they cut this bit here, and almost like piece them together like a storyboard or a comic book, and I'd watched all those films and figured out how they'd done it. And so I went in kind of quite confident of how they pieced those things together and the style of shots that I wanted, and then you just hope that it all fits together. And and I wanted a very powerful score and sound design for the gunshots and the bullets. And you just go in there and you have I think if you have a strong idea and vision of what you want, hopefully you'll achieve it.
You're kept apart for most of the film. I was wondering whether that's kind of frustrating because you want to be doing more scenes with someone like Mark Strong.
What's really nice about it is that both characters get a real opportunity to set up their world before they come together and move on with the plot. Because once we come together, it's pretty much get on with the story, plot. So we get to kind of really do a lot of nice character work before then.
And there was also an idea at the beginning that we wouldn't even meet until the first day of shooting, but that was just impractical because we had to do a read-through and we had to rehearse and work out what had happened between these two guys. But essentially we only really connected on set for our scenes, and that worked quite well. And there was one day when we had to actually have a fight in the back of a van, and that was me and him just going at it. We just did it. You couldn't choreograph it in a small space like that. We just wrestled each other around until they shouted cut.
Yeah, just go for it, guys. You're like, what? All right, okay. I remember trying to bite his head at one point.
How many takes did you do for that?
Did quite a few, yeah. Because we kind of knew where we had to get to. We had to get to the point where he smacks me in the knee somehow, and that ends the fight. And so we knew that by the time we were getting tired, I'd just basically present my knee to him, do you know what I mean? He could whatever he wanted to do to it.
Was it also the possibility of working with a sort of exciting up-and-coming director part of the reason that you got on board here?
Yeah. Somebody described him as like the new Ridley, because you think of those guys, Ridley Scott and all, Alan Parker, they were all young once and they had to start somewhere. So what you want really as an actor is to find a director, especially when they're young, who's at the beginning of his career. And that is exactly where Eran is. I think he's a real talent. I think he's going to go far. And, his energy and enthusiasm and talent was obvious to me. And, I'm betting on him.